Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Caerwyn. I am a retired bottom GM Terran and a big fan of ProBots in general and especially versus humans. And today I'm going to be going over all games I played versus the bots that got submitted for this exhibition. And I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. You should stick around because there are some interesting games and maybe someone even claimed the bounty, or at least part of it. Basically, the format it's gonna go, I'm gonna choose a bot. I'll go over the two games that got played. I will give my thoughts on where the bot can improve, what it can do better or worse, and that's pretty much it, honestly. It's gonna have my usual brand of humor, hopefully, or hopefully not. We have 5 bots. We have Ketrock, Tier, -0, Micro Machine, Aries, and that was 5. I think that's it. Explain the bounty? Yeah, sure. So basically, this season we're trying an experimental thing called the East Champ Bounty, where we wanted to give some incentive to the bot authors to work more on the versus human part. I know that's something specifically I care a lot about. And the way it works is that I play 2 games versus each bot, and each map a bot takes from me is $10 for the bot's author. So 10 if it's 1-1, 20 if it's 2-0. I'll give you some background before this. I have never lost to a bot besides Aries before. That'll be all. I'm going to be going in. I'll pick a bot at random. Let's see the first one I notice. We are starting with... Okay, I noticed all of them at once, unsurprisingly. Okay, my mouse is on Micro Machine, so I guess we're going to start on Micro Machine. Okay, so... I played TVT versus Micro Machine, played 2 games, first game on Glittering Ashes. By the way, I'm not casting, I am going to analyze the replay. So this is spoiler heavy. I do win this game. This was a pretty interesting game, actually, as you can see, 23 minutes. I think a lot of it is me chasing buildings, but I think like 19 minutes of this were actual gameplay. So... I'll give you my thoughts on this game. I'll let the replay run a bit while I zoom. Or not zoom. Well, yeah, zoom around. I remember this triggered me. I think Micro Machine has potential to be very scary. I remember even last season a GM Terran played Micro Machine and said it has potential to be scary, and I kind of want to agree with that. In my opinion, like the 2 main things I think would elevate Micro Machine to the next possible level would be better builds and maybe a bit more accurate compositions, because I'll basically also the Reapers kind of have a tendency to just go in and die. This happens every game I play versus Micro Machine. They sacrifice their lives to scout and kill SCVs, even though that's a bit risky, because if your opponent is playing a lot of Reaper Hellion, then they can put damage at your side of the map. But what I mean by better builds is like This is a bit dubious compared to normal TVT because, for example, Proxy Reaper would have very high success win rate versus this sort of opener as it's only Marines. The lack of Starpot also means Banshees would be pretty scary, or any Liberator shenanigans. And even I'm doing like a standard opener. Worker count is the same, but I have a lot more pressure on the map. If you can see, I'm on 5 Reaper, 3 Hellion, same SCV count, whereas Micro Machine only has 7 Marines. It does have a tank now, but for example, the buildings here, you can't really protect them. I have a lot more control. It's because even TVT builds quite make a lot of sense. So yeah, I feel like better builds would benefit Micro Machine a lot. I also think... that was strange. I also think... the buildings here are kind of sketchy. There are a lot of early pushes with tanks and TVT, and you can't really defend the buildings very nicely. I'll fast forward a bit. So that was about the builds in the early game. I also think I get like the 3rd base is pretty late. Like a lot of Star Pros is nice, but like Vikings are very expensive. You kind of need the minerals to have those, even though bots do have speed mining. So that's not quite the same as humans, of course. It does try to make a push early game, but in general, TVT early game, if you don't have Ravens, your push kind of gets... I walk into a completely sieged position, and with auto turrets, I still win the fight. because you can't really push in early game Raven without the auto turrets. So that's about the early game. Like I said, like basically Micro Machine is very, very good, but like the build orders kind of hold it back. Like this third base. My third base is completed and an orbital. Micro Machine third base is not even started. And this is like, I'm going to be playing mech. And one thing I noticed about Micro Machine is that it doesn't really get a lot of upgrades. For example, if you're playing bio, you usually get double eBay +1/+1. Sometimes if you want to be on the greedier side, you even get that before the third base. But in this game, it's only getting +1, and also it's a bit sketch to like get double starport and +1 production, because so there are two scenarios. Your opponent plays mech and your opponent plays bio. If your opponent plays bio and you're trying to like kind of hybrid bio and double starport, you're probably going to get A-moved by Stim Marines, especially after losing the tanks in the early game. If you see, Micro Machine only has 2 tanks now. So you can't really tech to air that fast. Versus mech, it's a bit more viable. You might still get A-moved when they do like a massive like max out timing before you have Mass Liberator, which is an answer to mech, with Thors and such, because you don't have a lot of tanks with this build. So this is what I mean by like the a bit more accurate compositions would benefit Micro Machine a lot, basically. So for example, if it played like normal Marine Tank Viking, which is you have 1 factory, 1 starport, and you have 3 barracks and then 5 barracks, I think it could be a lot scarier. Like, and proper upgrades, it could be like way, way scarier. I would have a very hard time beating it in a bio versus bio game, or bio versus mech. And then yeah, now I'm just chilling. I'm vibing with mech, and there's nothing that really troubles me. There's only 1 upgrade at a time for Micro Machine, so I'm going to be catching up with mech upgrades, which is very good. I think I can fast forward a bit. There was some scary moments in this game because it did tech a lot of starport weapons. Like, it's not that this does not have any merit to it, but it's very risky and you can get punished for that. And again, like the buildings all here instead of being like here makes them very vulnerable if I ever attack, especially versus bio players. Bio players more active than mech players. And I do expect most humans to probably play bio. I'm just kind of a mech clown. And then yeah, just you can't really attack into mech positions with bio, especially like if you want to play bio, you should not be making only Marines versus mech. You should get some Marauders, or if you want to play mass air, which is kind of what Micro Machine has been doing, you want to get Liberators very fast. Because without the Liberators, like the army doesn't really have too much staying power. There was one moment in this game that was pretty scary. I don't think it was this. Yeah, here I cleaned it up pretty well. I think I took a bad fight at some point, and then it looked pretty risky. Yeah, here, okay. So the Marines just kind of die here, which is not really nice, and that's what I mean about Marauders being helpful. Marines die very fast to all mech units, whereas Marauders have a bit more tank. I think here I tried to A-move this, and it went badly. Is it here? Yeah, it's here. Okay, so like, as you can see, like the Mass Viking does actually help quite a bit, but there are no more tanks. There are a few more tanks to help out. Actually, there are a few tanks, but they're all back, and there are no Liberators. So even though Micro Machine is winning the air army, the composition is not really good enough to kill me, because like at this point I made a mistake, and bots are very good at macroing. So you see, like I'm getting completely out macroed by Micro Machine, but he just cannot finish the game. It's really struggling to finish the game because the composition is not good enough to A-move me. For example, if it had mass Liberators with tanks coverage, or if it had a lot more Marauders and bio units with a few tanks, then I would see like this would be a lot scary. You know, I look at the supply, it's very scary, but in reality, it's Vikings with no Liberators and tanks only with Marine support, and the Marines kind of always go into my army and die very quickly. So now it's only tanks pretty much. And then I don't know if any of you know this. I'm gonna give some, from my expertise, some tips for the Terran players. Hellbats are very good at tanking tank shots. Like when you play mech, Hellbats are pretty nice to like run into fortified positions. They're not insane, yeah. Like if you're going into a really bad fight, they're not gonna save you, but they're very good at tanking tank shots. So at this point, I thought I might be losing, but then I just retreat. And because there's nothing that gives oomph to the tanks, I can do this. Like I go in, the Hellbats tank the shot, I land the Viking, forgive my English. And then, yeah, I can clean it up. And now I know like my army is a lot better. And if you remember that I talked about the upgrades, I think one of the things Micro Machine is kind of really missing is upgrades. So by 14 minutes, you should have 3-3 of your chosen composition. Okay, that's not true. If you're mech, you should be either 2-2 or 3-3. Because mech, like, gets the upgrades later because you have to get the factories first. With bio, you should be 3-3 at this stage, and probably with +1 or +2, either mech weapons or starport weapons, depending on the choice you made. I think usually you get at least one ground mech attack, and then you go into air or just finish attack. But yeah, Micro Machine is only +1/+1, so his any bio unit it has just completely melts. My air units have +2. His air units don't have anything, so I feel like the two things could benefit Micro Machine the most would be like a better build order per se at the start of the game, and then the upgrades. And then for a third thing, I think like the compositions with like a bit fine tuning, you know, because this is not bad, right? This is not like I don't know, this is not like Hellbet Widowmine Medivac or something insane like that shouldn't work ever. Like it's Marine Tank Viking, yeah, it makes sense, but like you have to get them a bit more accurate. You have to like commit to bio first usually, and then you have to like make the adjustments if you're playing bio versus bio or mech versus mech. Because I think if Micro Machine would do that, then boy, it would be very scary. I think that's pretty much it for this game. I continue holding. At this point, I'm the one with air control and liberators. So there actually is just nothing you can do at this point. I'll fast forward a bit so you can see pretty explosions. But there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing really in the game anymore. Now it's a matter of me just moving like every building in the map, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of buildings. I think at this point it's probably okay to leave. Game 2, there was a one base all-in attempt from Micro Machine. Oh, excuse me, my setup is okay. Thank you. So I actually kind of like the switch up. I like the usage of one base builds. I think again though, this was not like the most accurate build I could think of. I'm myself like my strong suit in StarCraft, especially when I was speaking, so I was like roughly GM, like I was a strategic player. I know a lot of cool build orders. I was not great mechanically, so I really like the switch up in strategy. I think the build could maybe be scarier. So basically here I see, unlike game 1... Oh, I forgot to mention something. Okay. I know for bots it's probably hard, but it really is the best to make your natural CC in TVT like on low ground. Unless you scout something like Proxy Turax Reaper, at which case you probably shouldn't make a CC at all before you hold it. So I'm not too big a fan of like the high ground CC. Maybe like I know bots are not humans. Like maybe it's hard to code the defense. So like I'm not, no accusations or anything. I do think it's like it is a pretty big difference, because like the time it takes it to become an orbital and to fly over, it is pretty big. So yeah. So that's pretty much it. It makes a tech lab instantly. It again loses the Reapers, which again gives me a lot of like map control power. I can basically do whatever I want because the Reapers die instantly. And yeah, like now comes the starport, but I'm already getting my second CC, and I also have a starport at the same time, while I also have a finished command center where Micro Machine doesn't have a command center even halfway done. And yeah, this is another like minus of being in one base and not making any like early game units or having control over your natural, is that at this point I just kind of camp the entrance, and then yeah, now this is like the disadvantage of being a bot. Like Micro Machine has a very hard time to break out, and I realized I'm probably getting all in, so I respond with a second starport for extra Viking. And at this point the game is pretty much over because no all in would break me. As you can see, floating as well, because it's very hard to like micro. And then I'm confident enough to meet this in the middle of the map, you know, land the Vikings, auto turrets, and it's a game from here. But basically, like I think if you want to do a one base all in, that's actually fantastic. But like commit, you know, all in. And then obviously I know like the units camping here is pretty like hard for like to break the contain as far as code goes. Maybe because the Marines are weak, maybe I would code something like the tank would try to like unsiege and go out first or something like that. But yeah, those were the Micro Machine games. Game one was pretty cool. I hope this feedback kind of helps, because I really do think Micro Machine has like a potential to be a big human smiter with like better builds, and then yeah, more accurate compositions would really like. Micro Machine has big potential. Like I would be scared to play a normal TVT versus that. So I played 2 games versus Negative Zero. This is actually pretty funny. I had some bug with the app and Negative Zero, so the first game didn't start, and when I loaded into this game, I expected it to crash as well. So I didn't macro because I realized, wait, I didn't think the game would start. That was pretty funny. I remember that. So I still played it, of course. I really like this is cool. I like the GLHF and the pixel heart. In this game I play a bit off standard. No, actually nowadays it's not even that off standard. I play a double gas opener versus Protoss. It's pretty safe. The idea of this opener is that you have your factory pretty nice and fast, so it's not that bad and your CC is not too late. And you're pretty safe because you make 2 Reapers and a Hellion. You can either scout and put pressure across the map or find proxies. So it's a pretty nice build. I kind of like it. And then you do Widowmine drop and play a normal macro game. I think this game I even forgot the drop. I do find the proxy. This is the advantage of playing like this. You don't send the Reaper instantly across the map. You use it to scout. And I do find the proxy, so it's a pretty good start for me. I managed to get it depowered for the cost of 1 Reaper. So all in all, you know, can't complain. Very good start. Yeah, this game I completely forget my medevac. And then, yeah, I scout. There's nothing really too much to be said about this game, I think, because it did start good for me with the found proxy. One of the things I noticed, like, Negative Zero has pretty scary blink stalkers, but every now and then they make, like, a really disastrous blink on the tanks. So I think that's one of the things that keeps it keeps it a bit down. Obviously, I know it's very hard to like code, no judgment or anything. I just think one of like the current problems of Negative Zero is that sometimes the stalkers just make a very dubious blink. I'm not sure if it happens this game. It definitely happened in the one game I played before, I think. Before the submission, I mean, I didn't scam any replays. I played it before the official submission log to make sure it worked. Yeah, okay. So I actually unsieged, so this time it wasn't that disastrous, but it's still a very bad idea. I have Mass Bio here and the Raven for auto turrets. So all in all, really not that good of a trade. I'm still down in supply, so like Negative Zero macro is very good. I think you can get away with faster Colossi probably. I would also like to see Charge Lot added, because humans can't kite as quickly as bots, I would assume, or perfectly. Though it's probably even good versus bots, because if they're kiting, the Colossi get a lot of free volleys. But that is a theory for later. Because the problem is now, Negative Zero is currently on just nothing but Stalkers. I have +1 Marine Marauder Medivac tank, and Stalkers just don't really beat that. I also have a Raven. I can disable Colossi. And yeah, now it's a problem. Now this composition doesn't really work. I can leapfrog, I can disable, I don't think I disabled that in time even. And yeah, now we're in a big problem and I just have control of the game. So I actually think Negative Zero has some pretty nice build order ideas. Like for example, this proxy, for anyone who doesn't know, that's a proxy something name tags? Do you mean like this? Interesting. There's a chat. Apologies, everyone. I was not made aware that there is an actual chat here. So, nice. Yeah, very nice. So, the idea is, I don't even remember what I was saying. Yeah, the proxy. The proxy is basically something parting ding a lot of time ago, and the Negative Zero does it very efficiently in the bot way. I obviously this game went really well for me because I found it. I found the proxy with like a very safe build, but like I think that has if it like commits to all in, that has potential to take humans off. And in macro games, I think you can't just make it purely on stalkers. You have to get some AoE. Colossi would definitely be my recommendation. So like maybe faster Colossi. And Zealots, because Zealots, they're not only like good because of charge and shit, they're also very tanky actually. Like when it's pure stalker, I can disable the Colossi and A move. If it's Zealots, like my army takes longer to kill everything. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, it is pretty much it. Like overall, really not that bad. One disastrous blink and then a good start for me. Game 2 is more interesting. I also win game 2, but in game 2 there's a very nice 4-gate blink. It's called the 4-gate blink all-in. If it's an all-in or not is a very philosophical debate, I think. I'm of the opinion it isn't. But a very nice 4-gate blink attack. I think I actually had pretty fair chances of holding it without taking any damage. But I completely disrespected it while doing a Widowmine drop, so actually it became a very interesting game. I do remember to give myself the name tag now. Once again, I opened with like the same safe build order. This time there's no proxy, and yet I'm still going to be hunting for it. I didn't miss anything else, right? Okay, nice. I have streamer mode on, so I cannot hear pings. I'll try to take a look every time I finish a thought. Anyway, I do kind of like this build. It's been a while since I've been looking. I'll be completely honest, I am kind of retired, so I don't remember if this is exactly the most efficient way to do 4-gate blink. And of course, like bots have more money, so you could probably get higher efficiency, whatever. I do like the build idea. I have to say, I very much like MindMe's choice of builds here. 4-gate is pretty potent. It is 4-gate, right? I'm not high. It isn't. It's 3-gate? I've been scamming this entire time. Interesting. Anyway, 4-gate. 4-gate is a very potent build. 3-gate is also fine. 3-gate you usually make a lot faster of a third. If you want to play 3-gate blink. If you want to be... Yeah, okay, there's the 4th gate. Very, very nice. So I get a nice opener. This is once more my beloved 2-gas opener. I managed to kill a stalker and a few probes and get scouting. I like the build order choices that MindMe made for -0. I think the Widowmine drop defense is a bit sketchy because I get a lot of damage. This one didn't even borrow. I'm not really sure what happened with that one, but yeah, basically this is probably very, very hard to code. But I do think maybe like TVP humans will probably take advantage of this because Widowmine drops are very, very common. So this is like a main challenge I would maybe focus on. Here's me being arrogant and then completely just losing the game. This was funny. All in all, it worked out well, especially because I had a Widowmine drop that killed 10 workers apparently, so I managed to keep alive. I was not particularly thrilled to play this position, but it once again goes into an end game, or not end game, definitely not end game. I do not play late game. It goes into a longer game. And once again, I feel like the same problems we've seen in game 1. Basically, you can't really just... you can't beat... I don't know. I'm trying to think of an idiom. I can't think of... Or a metaphor. I can't think of anything smart to say, so I'll just say it plainly. You can't really beat Terran just with stalkers outside of early game. Like, when I get my upgrades, then my army is not really going to lose to mass stalkers, unless I'm very far behind. But I'm not far enough behind to lose to mass stalker. So I would definitely like to see faster Colossi. Like, for example, this is the second Robo. This could have been very easily, like, a Bay for Colossi. This could have been a Colossi already. It would have made the push, like, a lot less scary. Because Colossi are very oppressive to Terran armies, actually. Especially when you have charge lots as well and not just stalkers. The basic idea is, at least how humans respond, is that Terrans can play mine or tanks versus Protoss. You usually make a focus of, like, more heavy charge lots if it's tanks. And if it's Widow Mines, you make like more stalkers. You still have to have both of each, but like, yeah, less zealots if it's mines, more zealots if it's tanks. And yeah, this fight again, like, basically, -0 dives the tanks, but in reality, the main damage core of my army is the bio, really, not the tanks. Tanks are actually, outside of early game defense and doing very specific all-ins, tanks are actually not great versus Protoss. So... yeah, and then, yeah, again, basically, like, now I don't fear anything. I can take this third base, so now my economy will be better, and my army will also be better. And that's pretty much it. That's game. So, I think -0 is on a good direction, actually. Like, I like the build choices. I haven't checked them for efficiency. I could probably do that. Maybe at a later date, I'll relearn how to do the... whatever. So I like the build order direction. I just think it needs a bit better compositions, and then the suicidal blinks are very suspicious. So the main two challenges I think Negative Zero has is maybe the Widowmine drop defense and the suicidal blinks. Other than that, I think has a very bright future versus humans. We're gonna do Ketrock now. Now I'm gonna give you a spoiler. Ketrock actually claimed one map of the bounty. I chose the complete wrong course of action versus Ketrock's composition, and I did pay for it. I do have some thoughts still. I do win this game as well, but give a congrats to Ketrock. He claims $10 of the bounty, and I think the first time I've ever lost to a non-Aries spot as well. So game one, about the Ketrock. I know Ketrock has like a very specific style of play. I'm not a like. I will say I'm very happy there are no more natural planetaries. I am allergic to seeing any planetary before the 4th base, so I'm happy that's gone. I think the problem Micro Machine had and the one Ketrock had are that they don't really SCV scout, and they don't really start with like a Reaper early game. So I'm pretty sure both Micro Machine and Ketrock, and especially Micro Machine, would both die to Proxy 2x Reaper. So if you want to skip like Reapers and shiz, I would definitely recommend SCV scouting. I'm not sure this bunker is enough to stop it. Maybe on this map specifically. Other maps, I'm not sold on it. Now, there's a very specific style to the Ketrock bot. I know everyone... I know basically everyone knows about it. It's mainly air. I think it has a very hard time setting up in the early game, which I took advantage of this game pretty well. I'm playing a very normal TVT build. I was alt-tabbing too much and I defaulted to Reaper Fast Expand, which I don't really play in Terran versus Terran. It's very rare. Then again, the bots aren't aggressive in early game. They don't play a human early game, so Reaper Fast Expand is actually fine as well. And I play a normal game. There's a Raven, there's a Cyclone, yada yada yada, very nice. I'm being annoying with my Reaper, but bots cannot tilt, so the last laugh is on me. But I'm ahead in workers because the build was a bit sus. Not too sus, but the build was a bit sus, definitely. Basically, playing like this hasn't handicapped the economy too much. I am quite ahead of workers, but I did play Reaper Fast Expand. It does definitely handicap map control, I think. Because I have Ravens, and yeah, I can do this whenever the Ketrock bot tries to leave. Because auto turrets have a lot of power in direct head-on engagements, so now I can actually delay the third by a lot. So I actually... My choice for engaging in battle here was trying to play the very human response to mech versus mech, which is going Cyclones. I don't think that's the correct response versus the Ketrock bot. I am actually pretty sure that's the only reason I lost the game, the second game. This game it worked out. I had a lot of control, so it actually did pay off. But the whole air, I think this is my biggest problem with the Ketrock bot. I don't see how this composition beats either like an active bio player who's human, because bio is a lot harder on bots, or Thors, like a mech player that makes Thors. Because in real mech versus mech, you don't really make Thors, but like versus Ketrock's composition, you can, and I should have probably played Thors in both games. And I don't really know what you do. You have like a few Hellbats to tank the tank shots, because Ketrock usually doesn't have an insane amount of tanks. And then like Banshees are not going to beat tanks. Not tanks. Banshees are not really going to beat Thors. So I am not entirely certain what you would achieve there. I'm going to turn off my dryer before it annoys the video and us too much. Nice. Anyway, so this game, there isn't really too much of anything. I defended the Banshees pretty well. I play active Cyclone. I deny the third base. It's pretty much it. At the moment I took control of the game, Ketrock bot can't really take control back, because like this is not really an army that can threaten my army, yeah? And that is pretty much it. I'm not entirely sure if there's much more to learn from here. I just think like this whole thing goes very, very well when Ketrock doesn't really lose control. It works quite well because it has more tanks, it doesn't lose any, it has the air control, and then it can harass with Banshees. I also would like to see maybe a bit more activity, because I feel like besides the one Banshee coming in at a time, like usually the units are very much AFK. I don't know. It's not like the Ketrok bot is bad. It did manage to defeat me the next game, especially because I didn't have control the next game. I just think the composition itself might be refuted by normal compositions like Bio play and Thor's. Versus Thor's, actually Cyclone completely win you the game, but the coding of them is very, very hard. I remember an old game I played versus Ketrok in one of the previous exhibitions. I was losing as well, but I made Thor's and then I won because the Cyclones can't really lock on. So if you manage to solve the conundrum of coding like Cyclone control well, then it's a very easy answer to Thor's, because Thor's can't really do anything about the Cyclones. If not, then I think the mass air Banshee composition gets refuted by Mech and Bio. All in all, not bad games though. Maybe I would like to see a bit more economic early game builds, but I don't think it's bad at all. I'll show you a bit of the game I lose as well. Okay. I am not 1-1. My game bugged before this game. I am not trying to scam anyone, don't worry. I just couldn't play for the first like 40 seconds and I was like, that's too much of a disadvantage. I'm not that disrespectful. This game I do something a bit more standard. I did the same build I played versus Micro Machine, a build that I actually like a lot, the 5 Reaper, 3 Hellion. I know Ketrok really likes his Reaper Woloffs. I think it is big overkill economically to make 3 depots so early. I also like, okay. If you don't wanna, like, okay, the make CCs faster, honestly. Because the only reasons you would go 1-1-1 before CCs, either you want to do some very aggressive Reaper Hellion pressure. I like those builds, actually. That's how I beat the Muslim, like, a while back in TVT. Like, you do Reaper Hellion Medivac, and then you expand behind it. Very nice build, but, like, you either want to put pressure like that, or you want to straight up do, like, a Marine Tank Viking all-in. Kind of like what Micro Machine tried playing versus me. But if you don't do either of those very committed things, you really shouldn't handicap yourself from like economically not making a CC. It's not nice. Like, my CC is already halfway done and I'm not even playing Reaper Fast Expand this game. So I think oh, it's only members here. Unlucky. I think more economic builds would be nicer. I know this is for a fast Banshee, though it actually can even be faster if you put it on this stack lab. But Banshees don't have staying power. Ravens are too popular, especially for humans. So I'm not a big believer of that build specifically. Like, I think this build can, like, Ketrok can be scarier if it has more minerals to work with earlier, which is what happens this game. Nothing really too main happens this game. I don't get as much control. Ketrok gets to play his game. Late Expo build, that does make sense. Yeah, it makes sense, but technically you can defend everything playing 2 gas builds as well, I think. And like, your mid game would be a lot scarier. And I would say, from my experience, bots are not even that scary mid game. It's usually around the later game when they're scarier. Not late game, because I don't think bots have any experience with like actual late game compositions, because no bot plays late game. But from my experience, mid game is also very human favor. It's the later stages of mid game and the beginning of late game where the bot macro just becomes too good. In mid game, I think humans still definitely have the advantage. Are you capturing the chat? How do you want me to do that? I don't have like a $200 setup here, or IQ for that matter. Actually, you upload the video to everyone. Just, if you want me to chat with you for the next one, become a member. You can chat with me directly there. Anyway, nothing too big happens in this game. Once again, like I said, I choose the wrong kind of reaction. I want to go for the Cyclone approach again. I think the Cyclone approach doesn't work. I think Ketrok does a very good job of reminding me why it doesn't work. Give me a very stern reminder that I can't answer the tanks and the air control. Yeah, nothing too crazy. I actually dive 3. I think this move might actually have lost me the game, maybe, because I needed those Cyclones. And yeah, Ketrok has a very nice amount of tanks. Like, this is a very healthy amount of tanks. I try to challenge it across the map, and I lose. I just straight up lose here. I don't have enough air to answer this. This is why I think Thor's would have been a big problem, though. I could have Helmet situated here, because I did win the tank fight pretty early. With Thor's, this composition doesn't really get anything, so I think that could be a problem. This composition is not without merit. Like, it's definitely working out here. Or if the human would try to match you in air control, maybe it would work there as well. But I think versus Bio and versus Thor's, there will be a struggle. I'm not sure this composition works. Versus Bio, I would get more. I would get a few Hellbats. I get a few Hellbats, and I would not make that many Banshees. Versus Thor's, Cyclones are obviously the best answer. Versus, if you can't do Cyclones, I would make maybe Mass Lib. Providing you ever, no, that's, I don't know. Thors are technically not good, but if they have Hellbit coverage to not die to tanks and they get to attack your air, then the air can't really do anything. Oh, 15. Ooh, that's not nice. We're sending the app on Monday. That is news to me. That's it. All I'll sell for this game, I think. Yeah, I understand what Ketork said, that bots are very vulnerable early game. That does make sense. But I think there are other ways to tackle that. Like, for example, maybe adding SCV Scout. Because you can tell, maybe not for all the mind gamey builds, but if it's the normal 2-rank sweeper, which is probably the scariest build anyone can do, you can tell. You can tell it's 2-rank Reaper. You can see there's no barracks, and if you're really scared of being mind game, you can actually count SCVs, because Proxy 2-rank sweeper has very, very low SCV count. And again, for any game, I'm not a great programmer, but from like any game knowledge questions related to Terran or versus Terran, I'm very happy to help any author. I've helped Aries implement Link Bane versus Terran, I think it has, or help Prosper with Aries. I'm very happy to share any knowledge you'd like. The programming front is definitely on you, though. That is it for this game. Congratulations again to Ketrock for taking part of the bounty. We're going to move on to, we've done Ketrock, we've done -0, we've done Micro Machine. I'm going to move on to Tyr. Tyr is playing random. I was actually pretty impressed with Tyr's random, both in the ProBot season and here. I thought it was definitely not too bad. This game it plays a TVZ. I think, okay, so my first build, I'll probably say it a lot. I think like the bots can be a lot scarier with like more optimized builds. And I know, again, I understand what Ketrock said is definitely true, that bots can be a lot like quite vulnerable in the early game. But like in the early game, this looks maybe even a bit normal. Maybe the drone usage might not quite be efficient. But like what I wanted to say this game is that I felt like Tyr actually got a very late third base compared to what Zergs would normally take. Because the advantage of Zerg versus Terran is definitely in its economy. Like, without a doubt in the mind. Or in my mind. Or in anyone's mind. So, it does actually hurt quite a lot. Like, for example, this game, the third base was so late and I saw a road thrower and I legit thought I'm getting 2 based all-in. Like, I see this, I think this is an all-in, this is not a macro game. But then Tyr just does not attack me. So if you want to play this build, I would either attack the Terran or get a faster third. I think Zerg's economy is their biggest asset. It's a shame. It's a shame not to use it. Creep spread is also, but I know creep spread is probably very hard, especially trying to defend it versus humans. So no worries on that. Yeah, and now I just feel, you know, very comfortable. We're playing a game, and I'm not. I don't have to worry about anything. The creep spread is non-existent almost, and yeah. So I know that bots, generally speaking, don't use Link Bane, and especially for Tyr, it might be very, very hard because Tyr is not a Zerg bot. It's a random bot, and it would require quite a lot of work. But versus Bio, you pretty much either play any Link Bane involving composition, or if you want to play Roaches, there's like pretty much only 2 ways to do it, I think. one way is doing like a very fast, almost max out timing with 1-1. In which case you tell the Terran, you don't have enough units, this game is mine now, and then you either win or lose. Like a very fast max out 1-1 timing. Or you play the Dark style, which would be playing Roach Ravager into fast lurkers, because again, like you cannot max on Roach or Roach Ravager or Roach Ravager Hydra, because those armies don't do anything to bio, especially when it has +2 or tanks. They will just lose. So you need the lurkers very fast. The idea of the Dark playstyle is that you get lurkers fast. That was my tangent. So yeah, Roach Hydra. Basically, I realize, I see the composition. I realize the moment I max out, I win the game, because just not a matter of skill or mechanics. My army will actually just be better. I play drops here. Actually, tier responded pretty fast. I was very happy to see this. Like the drop response was not too slow. You know, maybe like F2E a bit, but maybe it would get a bit tricky if I did multi-prong. But like for a single drop, the responses were not that bad. There are already Hydras waiting here, so nothing too bad. But yeah, like I said, I think like you need to have a bigger swell of roaches before you attack the lurkers. I really like to see this. Like, kudos to tier. Like, I really like to see the going to this fast. I do think you need like basically you need better economy for everything, because again, economy is what moves the Zerg forward. So you would get like more drones in the early game, especially like I said, like the slow third, and then you would get like defensive roaches. That way you cannot be A moved, and then you would go into lurkers, and then you would play a macro game with like Roach Lurker Viper, Roach Ravager Lurker Viper. In this case, however, I do the brick. The brick is a Atrax Marine tank all in. I very much like to play this in versus Zerg. I also play this versus Aries whenever I play bio. And yeah, basically Hydras just don't have enough staying power, and I'm sieged, so the lurkers are not going to be able to kill my Marines. So the timing of this engagement was kind of tragic, because it actually had potential. And also, I feel like with a better economy, like this army could look scarier. But basically, yeah, it tries engaging me off creep when I'm on siege. Lurkers aren't. I arc, and that is pretty much where the game ends. Obviously, like I know, anything army control related or terrain or anything like that is very hard. But yeah, maybe like a bit sharper on the builds, and even the Zerg, which is just one of 3 races for tier, would be very, very threatening. So I think very nice by tier. Game 2 was very, very funny. I got worker rushed, and this is the only other bot that has beaten me. I I think the worker rush has some potential versus Terran. I think good players will probably hold it, though I will, like, it just caught me so off guard. I legit couldn't hold it, because I was like, huh? They can do that? What? Oh. So yeah, I was caught very much off guard, and I lose to a worker rush. I get the Micro Machine Simulator or any Terran, honestly. Yeah, I was just flabbergasted. I found this very funny. Yeah, kudos to tier. Obviously, when we see humans winning, I do like it more when it's macro games, but still, well done by tier. He gets $10 for the bounty. I did write that I am dead inside, but I did remember to GG because I'm reformed, so I am dead inside, and GG. You wanted to see that in real time? Maybe you can get casters to cast this for only 1 membership on ProBots Patreon. If it can abuse the shield regeneration, yeah. I actually also thought maybe a better human can hold it, but I'm not sure. Like I said, I actually found it pretty funny. I'm not sure if that's a direction I want the ProBot versus humans to go, but for now that was very interesting, and a win is definitely a win in that case. To Aries. So if anyone doesn't know, Aries has had a lot of versus human work since I joined. After the first time you thermal played Aries, the suggestion of implementing Link Bane has been in works. I've tried doing my best to give Rasper any help he wanted with Link Bane. The background story you should know for this is actually in all the tests we've done before he submitted, Aries was kind of owning me, actually. I was losing almost every game. Uh, I am pretty rusty, but I don't think that's enough of an excuse. Aries was very, very scary. Basically, for this specific like time, I think what Rasper worked on and what I tried helping was matters of drop defense usually. So we do play a game here. Lingbane is actually pretty scary now. I used to be able to all in. I can't really hellbet all in anymore. One thing I will tell, I basically already discussed this with Rasper, but the Reaper gets too many kills. I'll basically, Zerg should never take any drone loss to a Reaper, like ever. I managed to kill like 2 or 3 every game because they don't morph into spores, so I would fix that because it's just free damage, you know. You should, like, you have queens, you shouldn't really take free damage. Like the build for Aries is pretty fine. What I'll fast forward a bit because this is very funny. I got so tilted from always the borrowed Ling, and I also theorized that creep spread, you know, it's very important for Zergs, especially when they play Lingbane. I actually revived the mythical and very dead since Inno retired Raven opener for TVZ, just so I can kill the Ling on my third base without wasting a scan, and clear creep. This build is very nice because you can clear creep. There's nothing really going on. I'm posturing here, trying to deny creep, kill the Ling. What I play versus Zerg, what humans play is usually probably Widow Mines, actually. Like Biomine into Ghost. Because Zerg always play Hydra Lingbane Lurker. This is what Aries plays as well, which is why it's very scary. I actually choose not to play Biomine. I do again the Brick, the Atrax Marine Tank all in, like I did versus Tyr, because I feel that's the only thing I can do well with Bio. Yeah, in this game I tried testing Aries a bit with drops. So I clear a bit of creep. I get a very nice trade here. I drop the main. I drop the main. I drop the main. Thank you. I drop the main. Get nothing. It was very nice defense. Get nothing because I'm not Maru. Very nice defense. And at home I'm just making Marines. I actually would love to see like a bot play the Brick because bot have better mechanics than me. I got supply blocked a lot. I would actually love to see a bot execute the Brick. I think there's a lot of potential there, especially because bots, generally speaking, in bot versus bot, no bot plays Lingbane as far as my knowledge goes. Besides Dysnomia, but Dysnomia uses testing. So I think the Brick has a lot of potential because no Banelings means you don't even really need to do advanced micro. Just kind of A-move bio. And yeah, so here I have a Marine for some reason, and I have a drop here. So the drop topic, it definitely needs more work. This was probably one of my most active games versus Aries, because I do manage to get clear, just so to get creep cleared. Just so you understand, the games I'm not this active, like the creep is pretty much all the way here, and I do get A-moved every game by Lingbane. So like any Terran that is playing passive will probably get crushed by Aries. One of the things I talked to Rasper about, and I think that's like the main takeaway, like I had for every bot, the main takeaway for Aries is that it's so very active with the Lings. I would love for them to scout a bit more actively, because this game I'm playing an all-in. I'm playing like legit like 60-ish 60-ish SCVs all in, and Aries is on 90 workers. And I would love to scout because, like, if it's on 75, it's going to have a lot more Lingbane and a lot easier time. It's faster than I found, chat, for sure. It's actually probably a bit over making SCVs. But yeah, I feel like the scouting hurts. Also, Rasper told me that there are some issues with like the drop defense squads, so that's why the next engagement is going to go not very nicely. I do make sure to not be on creep. But yeah, the Lings go in first before the Bane, so the game pretty much ends here instantly because the fight did not go too well. I do think Rasper may have already fixed this. I don't remember. I have not been sleeping great for a while. Yesterday I was also not feeling very good, so I don't remember. But yeah, I think the drops, obviously drops are a very hard topic to cover. I would love to see more scouting, more reaction. And again, for any knowledge related stuff, I'm always there to voice an opinion on how humans play. Because this game, it didn't realize there was a massive 3-base all-in coming. The next game, I was playing mech. I was trying to style and vibe and play like an old Caerwyn build, something that I've played a while ago. It did not go well. I forgot the build completely. And actually, this reminds me. This game, I forgot to make my reactor, which is very sad, actually. Because reactor, I don't know if you know this, but reactors take a while to build, so this was not fun. But whatever. So I tried doing... I won't focus on the early game. I don't think there's too much to cover there that I haven't already covered. Again, my biggest issue probably is it needs to scout better. So basically, Aries has like, if it scouts like that it's mech, it can go into the default Aries and not Link Bane, which is important because you shouldn't be playing Hydra Link Bane versus mech for the most part. But the problem is, I found after like a few games of mech is that it realizes too late. Again, like I said, early game is not important or good by any shape. So yeah, I think again, like a Ling going here and seeing 2 gases instantly on a third would also tell it's mech, or a Ling seeing this army would also tell it's mech. Actually, this is a changeling. So I would love like a few more scouting conditions, because you want to realize it's mech as fast as possible. Other than that though, like I don't have any too much things to say. Obviously, Aries macro, very good, yes. I don't think it tries A moving into me in a very suspicious manner later in this game. But if anyone hasn't played versus Aries, the changings are insanely annoying. Like, it legitimately sends 1 per 10 seconds into your base. Maybe this will be very hard to program. What would really elevate it is like more active like queens like humans do, because humans have a lot of queens always. They play with a lot of queens, and they play them very actively to spread the creep, and they defend creep and stuff. That is probably extremely hard to program, so this is not the main takeaway, but just an afterthought. I don't really have too much to say. I get triggered again because there was a Ling here. And I just have a mech army, and his army is not really positioned to beat +2 mech army, and then this engagement is not pretty. This was not the engagement, but this was also not pretty, actually. What was this? It was, actually. Yeah, you can't really A-move Hydra Link Bane off creep to mech. Generally speaking, I wouldn't really even A-move Terran until you have lurkers, versus Bio at least. I would wait for the Terran to come to you, because they're the one with the pressure to get something. Zerg is very happy and content to sit and take more bases. So unless you have lurkers already, I would definitely not A-move off creep. When you're playing versus mech, if you don't have Vipers, then you're not beating this army. Hydra Link Bane does not beat this army, and yeah, I just clear a bit of creep and I go. And that is pretty much it, I think. So overall, not a bad showing by Aries. I did actually somehow win after losing all the previous games. But yeah, scouting and reacting, my good takeaway would be. Changeling, good for scouting. Yeah, I agree with MindMe. I think hopefully everyone found this useful. I hope I was able to help at all with my thoughts. I am also very happy to always discuss these thoughts. I'm a big advocate for versus humans, and if any bot has any questions for me, I'll always try my best. Though my main strength is with Terran, obviously, or versus Terran. That is pretty much it. I think all bot authors will receive this after it's been edited by Draken. Draken can correct me if I'm wrong. And obviously the replays will all be included. All bot authors always get the replay pack from all the replays we get on the exhibition. This time will be no exception. They will get these replays included. That is pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, do I stop the recording? You enjoyed listening to my voice? Thank you, I appreciate that. Fantastic.